What about them damn fireworks?
Okay, yeah, what about those fireworks? That's one question. Where are you on that one?
Fryman.
Talk to Steve about a half hour. They're supposed to meet in the morning.
That's what we
And what time is it? Thank you.
That being said, what I like to see.
Well, I'm not
It's church.
They're fireworks. I'm just talking about
Give us evidence that they haven't done that. We want to church every
Still say church birds.
Yeah. I was supposed to call. I told Nick I wanted to play. The problem is not just playing.
I was like, what? He said, yeah.
Right. They're them seeing power.
There's no effort to tear it all. I mean, I just.
Who's covering? It's a question, who's covering them?
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes.
Do they know that?
I know.
No, I didn't get one. Thank you, sir. Do you have one now?
I've been talking to her about it.
Fine, okay.
Of course, you need to eat here.
She moved into our house today. She was in the hospital for 9 days. She's in our house today. We tried to move Laura into a house this morning, but it was shut for days.
But it was just
So,
Out the door. Not slowly.
this is like the last thing I would be doing. Laura, we showed up with 3 cars, but we couldn't get near the house because it was a crime scene.
Absolutely.
My son's girlfriend was
Ellington this year. Did it pass? Where is it at? Okay, gotcha. I couldn't remember. Thanks.
And she moved into the house today, then Karen sent me to get a scooter help. And then Ken Luke's closed.
Call the August 12th Lawrenceburg Redevelopment Commission meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Oh, I have to do that? Grant Hughes, Executive Director.
Here.
President Mike Lawrence.
Here.
Vice President Tom Rogers.
Here.
Secretary Donnie Bryant.
Here.
Board members Bill Bruner.
Present.
Aaron Cook.
Here.
Lawrenceburg School Board member Patrick Myers.
Here.
City Attorney Leslie Boatell.
Here.
Thank you. Looking for approval of the minutes from the previous meeting, if there's no issues or anything.
Second.
Have a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Move on to announcements. There's a walkthrough at the event center, Tuesday, September 17th, and our next regular redevelopment meeting will be September the 9th at 5 o'clock. And the financial report, as of August the 9th, 2013, redevelopment commission was at $922,238.63. And we'll move on to new business. Paul Seymour Jr., 207 Walnut Street.
I come in tonight to talk about the old barber shop and, all the programs we used to have going around here the last, year to maybe 3 years back. And now there isn't anything. And I'll tell you my concerns, and I'll tell you where I'm at with the building, and I promise you I will finish the building. I'm not here tonight begging for money or anything. I went to Main Street. I did apply for the grant. Basically, guys, I went out and I borrowed $100 grand on that old building, and I think that it'd be hard pressed to find that I'm doing a good job on it. But what's going to happen to me is I'm going to own a building that I'm going to have more in it than what it's worth. And the result of that is you can't really rent it to break even, combined by the taxes you have to pay because you do such a good job on it. Now all of a sudden, the banks are going to appraise this building probably somewhere between $110,000 and $120,000. The tax people are going to appraise it for probably $150,000 to $160,000. I'm going to end up owing every year on taxes. Now I do have the one thing that surprised me about this. I'm getting a lot of calls from people that want to rent these places downtown. I've actually, and I brought them in 6 months ago. I brought Mooch Calloway in and Ray Beatty, and they've been patient. The first problem I had was the state of Indiana, and it took me 8 months to get a permit. We're moving on it now. The second problem I had was I ended up getting quite a bit of work, and some of it was rushed, so I dedicated my time to that, which had nothing to do with why that slowed down. I pulled off of it and did the other stuff that I needed to do. What I'm here to ask you guys tonight is there used to be a program that when a guy got into one of these buildings, there was help for him to hire an engineer and an architect to do things. And I think if I'm speaking wrong here, one of you guys can speak up and tell me, but I believe there was something for people that wanted to get some design work done, and they could get help in a small amount.
Paul, I think it was proposed when we did the building improvement grant program.
Okay.
But I don't think it.
It never did come around.
Mario?
Pat go to the microphone.
I think when we started the building improvement program, that grant program, it was shortly after we began that program that there was a discussion, I think, at redevelopment, am I correct, Mario, where that was kind of put out there, that redevelopment help with engineering and design, and I think the idea was rejected.
Okay. All right.
Paul, real quick, you said you applied for a grant at Main Street?
It's been a while.
6 months?
6-8 months back.
What grant did you apply for?
Well, that was the next thing I was going to bring up, was there used to be a grant program that allowed you so much money for the bottom and then the upstairs, up and down. Now, I don't know the figure on it. It was either 20 or 25 for each floor. Those funds have been stopped or used up, or they're not available, okay?
Real quick, Pat, well, no, hold on. I want Paul to finish, and then if you can
Okay, sure.
respond to everything.
You know, I'm not faulting anybody. What I'm trying to do here tonight, guys, is to get everybody to realize, you know, I'm sitting down here and I'm trying to do something here for the town. I went into this thing, and believe me, I didn't go into it blind. I knew how much I was going to have in it, but I also knew there were some programs out there, and yes, I can afford to finish this thing, and it will get done. Now, and it's my own dumb fault for not having it all lined up before I started. But the way the application said was, you get your plans turned in, you get all this arranged and the financing, and I've had the financing there. And I thought what you guys wanted is someone to come into town and have something in the pot. Well, I got $100,000 in the pot. You know, I've got it. I've got to learn through UCB, and it's getting done. I'm not going to have enough with that $100,000 to finish this thing. I've got to put a full-blown sprinkler system. Well, that's a false statement. I've got to put a sprinkler system in this thing. They are letting me do a residential. It was going to cost me about $30,000, but now it's going to cost me probably between $6,000 and $9,000 by the time I do all my fire stuff and then my sprinkler system. Donnie took a tour when the Eads lived in it. Me and the mayor and Donnie went through it, and he can vouch for it. I do not believe, nor was it a surprise. My plans from the beginning were to go in there and tear that building down. I did not want to own that. It was garbage. There was at least a 12-inch swag in it. There's rotten. The rottenness of it never did stop. It actually continues to the other buildings. So it was a very bad building, and then I believe we tore off 2 or 3 rooms on the back that just were irreparable, and we did that before it was even put up for bid. Guys, all I'm asking is it's been 2.5 years. 2.5 years, and there is interest in this downtown. There isn't anybody that can come down here and fix one of these buildings up without some assistance. I'm doing it, but keep in mind this. That's the littlest damn building on the whole street of Walnut, and I'm at over cost on it. There's no way these guys can fix these big buildings up without some help, fellas. I just think I've been hearing about all this that's going to happen. We're working on it. It's going to happen. You know what? It needs to happen. It needs to be kicked in gear, and something needs to be done. Now, I don't know what, like I say, I'm not here to beg, but I am here to question, and I would like, I want to hear what Pat's got to say. I'm not saying anything bad about Main Street. Hell, if they ain't got no money, they ain't got no money. But why do we have them there? You know, I went out, I recruited 2 guys that want to come from Harrison. I've got a business that wants to come downtown. Now, I admit, it's not a retail business. However, these guys are providing a service to this community. They're going around with some of the old folks in Dearborn County that worked at Fernald, and they're providing a service that's making them more comfortable as they get up in their years, and they're doing it a whole lot around town. I feel like it was a good fit for the size of the building that is over there. I've had several people, we're going to turn it into a little studio apartment. There's a lot of people that want to live down here. They want to live in something nice. So I don't think if you do this program and do it right, I think it's the right thing to do. You know, there's no way somebody can come in these buildings and make this stuff happen without some help. Is there any questions that you guys got for me before I let Pat speak?
As far as the program you're referring to, what was her name? I mean, what was the name of the program? Do you know?
I'd like for Pat to answer that accurately, because I really don't know the name of it.
No, they had a program for fixing up buildings up there.
Do you want me to?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
The name of the program was the Building Improvement Grant Program. What happened is when I took the job at Main Street, one of the first things I was asked to do was to take care of some link loan money that was in four financial institutions that at one point the city had given Main Street, I think it was about $600,000. They put $150 in each of four financial institutions, and then that was supposed to be, it was kind of a complex loan program, but it had a guaranteed loan rate, but they had to be approved by Main Street first, but they still had to be approved on their own for the credits. So anyway, the program didn't get used much. The money was sitting there, and I was requested to try to find a use for it. So we proposed the Building Improvement Grant Program. What it was 25, that you could apply, you could get $25,000 for a commercial location, and that could be interior or exterior. You could get $25,000 for second floor residential and a multi-purpose building. Those were the two focuses. Those two focuses were based on, I think, what the city was looking at the time, which was commercial, and also getting some of these second floor spaces. Some of those had just kind of sat vacant because they were in such bad shape that nobody could afford to fix them up and rent them. As a result, we've got quite a few that have been fixed up since then. Where we are with the program is we really haven't awarded any money in about a year. The reason is that our liquidity is down to about $60,000. We were concerned about just totally draining it because we didn't know what kind of priorities might come up, the emergencies that we would really need to have something to work with. Otherwise, we'd have nothing. And so if you give a $25,000 grant, that $60,000 goes away pretty fast. So we haven't awarded anything. What Paul is telling you is the situation we have in every building that needs work down here. The cost, especially now with the increased codes, cost of rehabbing old buildings, meeting all the codes, you have more in it than you can get out of it. It's not that people don't necessarily want to do anything with their building. In most cases, it's really hard to afford to do it, and then know that when you do it, your taxes are going to go up, and that probably when you go to sell it, you will never get that money back. So it's the situation that we have down here, and he's right. Unless some of these people get a little assistance, it's going to be hard to upgrade the rest of these buildings. It's just reality down here. Truthfully, Main Street has been working on something to try to deal with these programs. We felt like our Building Improvement Grant Program was really good. We followed it through very carefully. I mean, you can come down and look. All the money that was spent was carefully spent. We didn't pay out for things unless we were sure that they'd been done or the item had been purchased. We were very careful in how we administered that program, and we really got a lot of very good results with it and a lot of projects that we can point out with a lot of pride. So it was a very successful program. Right now we're looking at it. We're going to make a few additional changes to it, and we'd like to bring that back to you to look at. But we will be discussing this with you all on a one-on-one basis, and exactly the rationale behind the plan and the course of action that we're suggesting, we're looking at, but also to get your input into how you feel about it. Does that answer every question?
Pat, in that old program, was some of that money to be used for rent and utilities?
No.
It wasn't?
No. It was only then, that had nothing to do, it was addressing simply building infrastructure. Had nothing to do with the businesses inside there, it was for building infrastructure only.
If I can, I'm gonna throw my 2 cents in there. And Leslie, please correct me if I'm wrong. Because I think, right, everybody sitting up here would agree that they want to improve downtown and, revitalize downtown. And from reading the laws and everything the best I could with redevelopment, looks like redevelopment can spend money to revitalize properties downtown. My suggestion for this board to think about, and I'm the first one to always say people should put skin in the game, is put a program together by this board, because this board's job is for revitalizing downtown. A program that people can submit to, along with their drawings of what their property would look like, get everything put together exactly of what cost should be, and do a something to the effect that the owner would spend 2/3 and they spend their money first, and then the city look at, or not the city, but the redevelopment look at putting in 1/3 if they agree with the project. That's something that I've thought about and thought I'd pass on to the board.
Well, I know in the past we had a matching program. It's kind of crazy because I had just called Pat last week about it and was asking her if that program was still up, and it's not. It used to be a 50-50 match up to $100,000, and I know that was used, not a bunch, but it was used, and the results were pretty favorable.
That would be too much for that over there. I mean, that 50-50 early in the game, I mean, you don't want that building ending up being a $200,000 building. That'd be bad for both of us. I've watched my cost on it. I'm doing a nice job, but I'm not doing anything elaborate. I do have a couple questions, and Pat might be able to help me with this answer. A couple months ago, and I forget what meeting it was in. It was either in redevelopment or a council meeting. It was brought up that there is some money in Main Street, and they put a hold on it or a freeze on it until they can figure out how they want to do it. It was for, I think it was for a concrete program of sort, that when people got bypassed and new people came to town, that they could apply and things were turned loose. Well, there's 2 things that I'd like to ask for, or actually 3 things, is I'd like you guys to talk to Pat. I'd like to go over there and apply. I'm going to have off-street parking in the back of that, and I'm going to need some concrete in the back of that. That could help me a little bit. Anything will help, guys. The other thing is when we did the High Street property up there, we assisted the residential with some sprinkler assistance on what I would call a grant for the residential people up there. I'd like you to consider something like that, because I am putting a fire sprinkler system in this building, and it will make it I'm not sure, but is there any other buildings on Walnut, or too many that even have sprinkler in them? It's something that I had to do. And I had to do it because I chose not to remodel it. I chose to do it and do what I had to do on the building. It's a new building, so I had to put that in there. And the third thing I'd like to say is I want Pat to meet with you guys as quick as she can to get this program rolling. Because it's been 2.5 years, guys, and I'd like to see some action. I'd like to see her come before you with the plan and get the talk going on it, because what's going to happen to me is I ain't going to wait around. I'm going to get it done. And I'm at the part now to where this building's going to get done, and good old Paul sitting here and and I hit it just right. This one came to an end, here I am finishing, and now this one's starting up, and I ain't got nothing, coming in. And I will finish it, and I'll do it. But I ask you guys and Pat to consider making this a priority, because there might be other people in town that are looking at some of these buildings, and I've been pretty surprised the last month and a half since there's been a lot of action going on over there. There's quite a few people asking about it. So if you get it going on up and down the street, you might be surprised.
Well, council members that are on the board, as far as our budgets are coming up, but as far as for the one that was adopted, were any of these monies, was it just part of the redevelopment or Main Street? Where did that, I'm saying, because she said right now there's 60,000, well, that's not gonna help on one or two of these $25,000 grants. And that's definitely something that council will need to address, come time the budgets as well, but.
Because I just feel that redevelopment should have some say in what they want to, if they agree with what somebody wants to do to a building, if they're going to help fund it, and they should definitely have to spend their money first. Oh, yeah. Have skin in the game, because don't want to be holding the bag.
No, and I agree with that wholeheartedly, and that's what I did. One other thing is if I would need to bring this before council, I'd be happy to do it. I don't know that that's something that I want to, if you don't want me to, I won't waste council's time, but if you think I need to make this speech on anything about this before council, I could get on the agenda and do it. So somebody just let me know that.
They can talk to council about some extra funding possibly in the redevelopment or budget part of their funding or whatever towards that, and we're into August, maybe there's some money in there now this year that can go towards it a little bit.
Well, I think Pat would feel a little bit easier about her situation if she knew that things were moving, and the way I'm hearing it, maybe come before them with a program and get the talking going. It could be good for a lot of different people, not just me. That's all I got, guys.
Oh, I wouldn't think that you have to come back before council again.
My thing is,
There's four council here right now, so we could probably get the ball rolling on that.
Oh, yeah.
You think I should or not?
I would say no.
Okay.
I said we can probably, because Jane's back there also.
That's fine. I'm just saying, if you need me to, I will.
Another thing is the concrete program. I think they switched, changed the name on that fund now. Because when they was going to help the people with the trailer park, moving assistance, Pat might correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the fund that was changed to the Economic Relief Fund now. But there's no longer a concrete fund, is there?
I just remembered something said a couple months ago. I'm not sure.
That was initially, that's what it was, the concrete program, but I believe Aaron's right.
All right. Well, anything that happens, Pat will keep me posted. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Paul. Anybody else have anything on that? Oh, Pat.
What I might suggest is that perhaps maybe we have a work session just to deal with this matter. We can come back to you with some recommendations, talk to some of you one-on-one, get your recommendations, put something together, come back, and maybe that's something, I don't know if you would want to entertain that at just a regular redevelopment meeting or just a meeting devoted to the discussion of that. We could be ready to do that in probably 2 weeks.
The board.
We need to talk about another work session that needs to happen, but that definitely could maybe be set up even before our next meeting.
You have a work session too? How long would yours take roughly?
About an hour.
So we can do it all under one business, hopefully? An hour and a half or so?
Yeah, probably about a half an hour you think would be long enough, or?
It would depend on how much discussion there is. I don't know. We could present it within that time frame.
3:30.
So can you do it 4, or in case it takes a couple hours, 4?
Well, our meetings are at 5 then. Well,
Yeah, but I mean for a work session. we
For a
can
work
do it.
session, yeah. That's,
Somebody want to pick a date?
suggested, 26th of August,
What day is that falling?
Monday.
That's the last Monday, right?
We'll probably need it anyway for the event center building.
So is everybody okay with August the 26th at 4 o'clock?
For me.
Donnie?
I'm good.
Aaron? Don? Okay, so we'll have a work session on August the 26th, 4 o'clock.
And that would also include Mr. Snaybell. The Snaybell claim, and then also this program then.
Okay. Which he's not here. You'll notify him?
He actually showed up at 4 when we were, so, but
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So, so Snaybell, and this would also be building improvement grant program. Okay.
Is that it? We'll move on to Mary Hotta. Is that correct? Yeah. For a presentation on tax credits for senior housing.
Yes, Mary Hotta's from NRP. They've done a lot of senior housing and rental properties across the country. She's from Cleveland. I invited her down tonight to kind of give you all a rundown on what's involved with tax credit senior housing and having the trailer park property in mind. Mary was here about over a year ago. And I imagine she was here before that. Her and Mike Clark had worked on a couple of things, so there's your intro, Mary. Have at 'em.
Yeah, I've been to your beautiful community numerous times. I am following up from a meeting that I just had in Avon with your mayor and with Grant Hughes that came to see our property because I feel that seeing what we build is most valuable and understanding how we go through the process. What they came to see in Avon was a 50-unit senior property funded by tax credits and private investment. And it was for age 55 and older, 1 and 2 bedrooms. We also had 44 units that were cottage style on that property as well. And that one's in Avon. We've been developing in Indiana for a long time. We just finished up 40 single-family homes in Evansville and just had a grand opening for that. We have 2 projects in Indianapolis, Avon, Lebanon, Noblesville. So we've done, mainly in Indiana, we've done our cottage style product, but we've been a company since 1995, and we're vertically integrated. So we started as a construction company development, and now we're a management company, and we manage most of the units that we build. We manage over 10,000 right now. We're in 13 states, and we have offices in Arizona and Texas and Ohio, North Carolina, and Florida. So typically what we build is about 20 projects a year. And it's a cottage-style senior, 3-story townhomes for families and single-family homes. So we had been talking since your previous mayor about the trailer park on Tate. And it's an infill project we thought would be perfect for senior development. And what I just passed out to you is something that we're currently building right now in Columbus, Ohio. And it's a 3-story senior project that I felt that the footprint would fit on the site prior to the 2 homes being demolished. So this was something we were looking at last year and trying to see what we could do last year. And what we're proposing to do is to put a package together for November 1 to the IHCDA, Indiana Housing Development, Community Development Authority, and propose to build 50 units, 10 1-bedroom, 40 2-bedroom units. That would be a green enterprise design, universally designed as well, so they can age in place. It'd be about an $8.5 million development. We're proposing to have a community room and kitchen, fireplace, individual tenant storage, raised garden outside. for the seniors. And then the newest thing that we just put in that building that you're seeing is a play palace. And we found the need, after managing for a while with little ones running up and down the halls, that when they'd come to visit Grandma or Grandpa, there wasn't really a play area. So we are adding on a play room, which has got a TV and a Lego table and books and a lot of interactive stuff for the grandchildren to play with their grandparents with. So that's basically what we're proposing here. We've done an analysis of the senior properties that you have here in Lawrenceburg, and you have a lot of senior, but you don't have, the only pure tax credit project you have is Tuscany Bay Apartments, because tax credits do not subsidize the rent. You apply for the tax credits and it offsets the overall cost. And so we were looking at the senior product that you had and doing analysis on what was occupied, what was available, and you have some tax credit that are subsidized, like Englewood, and I just talked to them last week, they still had one opening. So what we're trying to do is figure out, with running the pro forma, what would be the optimum number of units without having a problem with leasing, and hopefully filling it within 6 to 9 months, and trying to figure out where we would fit in this configuration of what is offered here. A lot of the senior product that you have here is 62 and older, and ours is 55 and older, which opens up, more of the market. And your rents, we were looking at those. It seems that the market rent in the area, the fair market rent is for 1 bedroom $557, 2 bedrooms $740. So we were proposing to do this for ages, income 60% and under, which would, for one person would be $28,860. 2 people would be $33,000 and under. And then our rents to do this development would range, trying to answer every question that I think you might be asking me. Find that page. Our rents would range from $272 for the 30% up to $787 for the 2-bedroom. Mr. Hughes had asked me if we would look into doing market rate, adding some of those for people that have a need for senior housing that wouldn't qualify for an income restriction. And we did look at that. It's not something that we would eliminate at this point in time, but the rent would be for market rate for our quality of development, about $1,000 a month. So we have to do analysis with the market study company to make sure there are people that would qualify and of course could afford the rent. So that's basically what we're looking at, and we wanted to just introduce ourselves and let you know what we were thinking about and answer any questions that you might have. We're looking at doing this proposal for November 1.
Now, this building that you give us at the building in Cleveland?
We're building it actually in Columbus right now. That's a sample of what we build. There's some others in the back of other samples that we've done. You can go to our website as well.
Is that Columbus, Ohio?
Yeah.
That you're building?
Yeah.
Now, does the city of Columbus own that?
No, we do.
You own it?
Yeah. We built, actually, that's our third elderly in Columbus. We have one by, I don't know how familiar you are with Columbus, but we've got one by Mount Carmel West that we just finished. That was a 4-story. And we've done a couple of scattered site by Mount Carmel West. We did 40 scattered site there, 40 in Wineland Park, and we're proposing Wineland Senior right now for Ohio. And currently we're building Parsons.
Now, what you're going to propose for here would be your company owned?
Yes. We don't have to own it, though. I mean, like I had I told Mr. Hughes, I'm just straight up honest because, if you tell a lie, you got to remember it. We don't have to own the senior product. What we basically want to do is the construction, but we will own it, we will manage it, whatever the city would like us to do. And we've done a multitude of different scenarios. The one that you just see there is Parsons Senior, and the city wanted us, and we've done this before, was mentor a nonprofit housing agency. So they have 49% ownership of the building, and they are going to provide the supportive service, and then we're going to train them how to apply for tax credits and do a development.
Are you asking for the property? Is that what you're asking for?
Yes, we would like to do that.
I mean,
I asked-
what the redevelopment would give you the property? Is that what you're asking?
That's what we're asking for. With the way the performa is working now, we would be, with that scenario, we would still have a gap of 1.3 million when we're applying for the tax credits and giving up developer fee as well.
The reason I asked Mary to come down and talk is we're probably going to, over the next month, have several discussions regarding what to do with that property. This is one avenue that we can take. The thing to keep in mind about the tax credit route is that your application has to be into the state on November 1. They will make a decision and report their decision
Awards, yeah.
on at the end of February 2014. Construction won't start until fall next year sometime, because what occurs is those tax credits are put on the market and sold. So that takes time. So pretty much what happens is come September, October next year is when Mary's project would start, if we went the tax credit route. And with the tax credit route, it definitely, it makes money available so firms like Mary's firm can invest in the community. To your point, Mike, regarding the ownership, we were looking at this ownership to be private in order to get it on the tax rolls. The issue with that is there's some limitation as to what the tax can be on the housing credit type of structure, because they can limit it to 5% of gross receipts, correct?
They changed the ruling in the state of Indiana as to how they grant the property taxes, but you have to apply for it to the state.
Okay. So there's some more investigation to do in that. What this is leading up to is, I would say, in September, we would probably put out a request for proposals from firms like Mary and from other firms, and take that in and see which direction we want to head. Is it market rate, or is it going to be a tax credit, or is it some type of hybrid in between those two? And that's where I've been talking with Mary. One of the things I would suggest, if anybody's interested, is to visit the Avon facility. It was pretty impressive. We could see who's interested. We can run up there and take a look at it. Wish we had more space, because the villas were quite neat, how they were laid out throughout this new development. But again, this is kind of the first round, and more discussion is going to be needed, and this is in preparation of getting a request out for proposals for firms like Mary, firms in the area.
You are with the NRP group, correct?
Yeah, I'm a developer with the NRP group.
Okay.
A couple points that I'd add to that is when we do a tax credit application, we need about 2 months to do all the reports that are required for the application. So I don't know when you're going to be doing your RFP process, but either way, with a market developer or with someone like us that, well, we do market development as well, but we do very high-end market. Or a tax credit developer like us, it would take 3 to 4 months to assemble anyway. So what I had suggested to Grant was, you could do an RFP, but then you could also work concurrently with us and, even take the chance that you could get the tax credits funded. You get about a 1 in 3 chance. of getting funded from the state because there's such high competition. But this is an infill development that would have a community impact, and it qualifies under a different number of funding pools that they have, so the chances are greater of getting funded.
As part.
I have a question for Grant. The apartments down here at the end of Center, do we own those, correct? City of Lawrenceburg?
St. Clair.
Yes,
St. Clair.
Center and St. Clair.
Yes.
How does that work? I mean, how much, the city owns it, we have a private, somebody runs it
Management company.
privately. Does that cost Lawrenceburg any money every year? So would her deal be different than that?
Yeah, privately owned, Lawrenceburg, once it's done, awarded, Lawrenceburg's done.
But we,
And it would go in the tax base, the property tax
And the
base.
tax base, I need to clarify that as well. With Avon right now, you could apply, like I said, for a tax abatement, and we paid 100% on the first year, and we applied, and we received 50% for the next 10 years. That's all we received. So it's not just 5% of gross.
I'm just,
based on assessed, you're saying? Assessed value?
Yes.
I'm just trying to get a couple numbers here. You said about $8.5 million to build this?
That's what our
Now-
performance is running now, 50 units.
Okay, now does that include the property or just the building? Was that purchasing
That's
the
just
property?
construction and development costs. Yes.
And then, how much would you be looking that the tax credits would pay it down?
Well, that's, it's always varying rate, depending on what they're paying. We're estimating, let's see, what was the last estimate? 89 cents on the dollar. And that's conservative. I think our last deal, we got funded at 91 cents. But at 89 cents, and it's a floating rate for the tax credits as well, we were estimating that we would receive 6.5 million selling the tax credits. And that's a number that changes daily. But that's what we had estimated on July 23rd.
So, basically, if you got the tax credit, at the end of the day, you would only be spending $2 million. Is that
Right.
correct? And, which you said a lot of stuff, I just want to make sure I have everything. One bedrooms would be approximately $557 a month?
What I had said was,
I think she said that's the average in Lawrenceburg, I believe.
right,
The going
that
rate.
was the average rent for units here in Lawrenceburg now. What I had said was our rents would start at 30%, so they would go from 272 up to 787. The most you could charge in this area for tax credit rents is $928, but your fair market rent in this area is $557 and $740. So that means that's the average rent being paid in this area for a 1 and 2 bedroom.
So you can actually get more with doing the tax credit for
So,
an
well,
apartment for rent versus,
We can try, but the investors that
Not
buy the
the-
tax
up to
credits will review the performance and say, you can't charge over fair market rent, you're never going to get it.
because I figured at fair market rent, if you had 10 units at $557, and I think 40 units, you said, with 2 bedrooms at $740.
Well, the other thing is, and I was explaining this to the mayor, is the utility allowance. You have to deduct a utility allowance for each unit. So you have a gross rent, which is $386 up to $755, and then you deduct the utility allowances. So from the $386 for the 1 bedroom, it would be down to $272 that we would actually collect.
So your utilities is all included in the rent?
No, we have to deduct that amount because that's what they estimate for Dearborn County. Whether the person who lives in that unit uses less utilities or not, that's to their advantage. Is that clear? It can be confusing when you haven't dealt in the tax credit world before.
It is, I was just running numbers and off of the 740 and 557 and bring in 35,170 a month.
And then with the,
$422,040 a year, and then at a 20-year, it'd bring in $8,440,800.
well, the utility allowance wasn't figured in, and the other thing that you have to do with a tax credit development is you have to put aside every year operating reserves and rent reserves, and we figure our performance at a 7% vacancy, to be conservative as well. The newest utility allowances that did come out, though, for this county are even higher. For one bedroom, and this is not water, sewer, and trash. This is just for the heating and the cooking, and the electric and the hot water heating was $120 for a one-bedroom and $145 for a two-bedroom. But what we would typically do is call all the local providers and get estimates from them. Those tend to be a little bit lower than what the county estimates are, which means we can collect more rent if we can prove it from the utility providers. I'm probably giving you more random stuff than you need, but that's basically what we're proposing to do on that site, is 50 units, 1 and 2 bedroom, and would like to apply for tax credits if we had support by November 1.
And your website, is it nrpgroup.com?
.com.
Thank you.
You're going to see a lot of swimming pools. Those are required in the southern states. We don't do those in the northern states. So.
Okay. pgroup.com.
Grant?
Mary, have you heard what the new rules are that are coming out for the selection this year?
Right. The qualified allocation plan from the state, they've had a first draft and a second draft, and I asked the state for it last Friday, and they said it's still not available because the governor hasn't signed it yet. So you get this little window of new rules, and you get, 8 to 10 weeks to put this 500-page application together.
Okay, so let's go over last year's selection, or this year's selection. 27 were awarded. Out of the 27, there was 4 new constructions that were awarded. Of the 4 that were awarded, only one of them would fit our classification for the size city that we're at. Okay? So that gives you an idea. Now, these new rules, what happened last year, my understanding, is that a lot of this money went to refurbishing older buildings, other structures.
Right.
Hopefully it's going to change this year, but that gives you an idea what the percentage is that you have a shot at. And it's a scorecard that they go through, and you could score 62 points, but somebody could score 55 and beat you out because of city size. I mean, it's real hard to put a probability on what's going to happen. We're in a competition with a lot of other communities for this. And part of it is that, and by the time you get all that process done versus traditional construction starting later this fall, you're looking at next fall by the time you
Right,
get going.
but I mean, you've got to do an RFP, you got to find someone who wants to slap down $9 million and do a development.
Now, your company's only interested if you get the tax credit. Is that what
Yes,
you're
sir.
saying?
And that's because we only do tax credit, and we only do high-end market, and we only do those in the Florida and Texas and North Carolina market.
Yeah, we're in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. We're not high end.
Ours are usually 1,200 to 1,300 at least a unit. That's, and it's not my decision, it's the owner's decision as to what they'd like to do. But the city of Lawrenceburg qualifies under a small city. They would qualify under the community impact pool. They would qualify under the elderly pool. And if we had put a nonprofit in there, they would qualify under the nonprofit pool. So they have more funding pools, but they did fund more preservation deals last year, and they said the outcome that they're receiving is not what they intended. So they said they were changing the QAP to where there was more money in the new construction pool, less in preservation.
Mario?
This question for Les. How many tax credits or how much does the city allot per annual? Per account?
Probably.
You may know that.
I mean,
It's per capita in the state.
yeah, I knew, but I don't know. I can find that out for you, though.
Or as I was asking, it may be pretty limited, you know, if you're gonna do a project, you may only get this one either off or on.
And then that's, it would give us an opportunity to apply, and you'd know by February if we got funded. And February is probably about the time that you would get someone assembled to do a market rate with an RFP process.
Any other questions for Mary?
Grant, can I ask one? You touched briefly on...
Can you come up to the podium?
Oh, I'm sorry.
And Al?
Al Abden.
Yeah, thank you.
You touched briefly on subsidies. Did you say that under IHCDA that is there any percentage of subsidies required on that, or is it all?
It's just tax credit. I mean, they give points if you have vouchers. And so there are public housing authorities who apply for tax credits as well, but this would not be subsidized.
Under the privately owned model that you're talking about, there's no, okay, that's all I had. Thanks.
Thanks, Al. Anything else? Nope. Thank you, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry, Jane.
I just have one question. I'm Jane Pope. Are there any other locations being considered for the senior housing other than the old trailer park?
Grant?
For the size and magnitude of this one, trailer park would fit. The other property, I don't think we're at a point. You won't that many units, and it's probably more set up for more housing units as far as actual homes.
But really, shouldn't the board decide, or the board should decide where they even want to consider? I mean, because I don't know if this board is deciding.
Well, just in physical size, the other property we're talking about's on Center Street.
What if the board decide they only want to, maybe they want to do one that's 15 units?
I think it's probably better than that. The only one that they're looking at would be that property down on 5th Street.
Yeah.
And what happens if council or the redevelopment has other ideals for that property other than senior housing?
Well, it belongs to the redevelopment, so I don't think council
Council wouldn't have a say. So. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. We will move on to old business. Leslie, Tate Street transfer.
If you remember, I believe it was last meeting, you were presented with this, which is the Tate Street property that we were talking about. There needed to be a transfer from Lawrenceburg redevelopment to the city. I have prepared that deed, and that's all there is on that. And you guys can maybe explain a little bit more why we got to do that, but
It's going to be transferred from redevelopment to council?
the city.
Or to the city?
The city of Lawrenceburg.
Well, that's what I mean. No? Well, he's saying no, she's saying.
Transfer LRC
This
to
is
city.
this is a piece of property that's sitting inside the parking lot. It's that
There's a little
house
square,
that got
yeah.
built. It's a little square coming off Cook.
Holocraft's old house.
That one
Yeah,
right there.
and it needs to go from,
Holocraft's house.
But it says transfer LRC to city, so I made it from
yeah.
redevelopment to city.
That's a city parking lot for the pool, and we need to get it out of LRC into the city's hands.
I don't have that there, Les. What packet?
Oh, no, it's just the warranty
Okay.
deed that was passed last, it was
Okay.
passed last time. If you'll wanna look at it, I mean.
No, I know it's
basi-
property you're talking about.
Yeah, and, it was Holcraft. And it was to redevelopment, so. Actually, was gonna get with Mike.
Had to square that up and consolidate that into that parking lot.
So I'll have Mr. Lawrence sign that. The next, yeah.
And 4th and Shipping Street?
4th and Shipping, which would be the Hubbard property, that was included. The real estate purchase contract was in your packets, which it is in lots 175, 176. You know, they all kind of look, oh, I'm sorry, that's not it. That's the other one I have for you. This is for Hubbard Property Management LLC, and that's all of lots 91, 92, parts of lots 61, 62, 63, and 90. Just if you remember, this was brought up for bid. This was the bid that was accepted for the $30,000. And I think we have previously brought to the commission letters from the lending company, which is Dearborn Savings. That was included in the last packet last month. And they are proceeding with a construction loan with that entity. This, they have free and clear from, they're not using any of the construction loan to buy the property. They have the $30,000 to pay for it outright. So, I did put in number 5. Basically.
Did you say that's in the packet?
Mhm.
For
Looks just-
4th and Shipping?
Yes.
Oh, that's because I'm looking at 4th and Shipping, Scott Hubbard.
Okay, so on number 5, I did put in there, the buyer agrees to build the veterinary clinic on said property in accordance with the bid and proposals submitted to the seller on or about May 13th, 2013. Failure to do so within a reasonable time can result in legal action, including reasonable attorney fees, and the seller reserves a first option to purchase the property if said veterinary clinic is not built according to said bid and proposal. I did add that language due to the problems we have had. I'm not sure, I'm kind of just putting it out there. I did forward this to Hubbard's, did not hear anything from her as far as that portion. I did also put in number 11 that she understands that prior to signing the document, she can seek advice of an attorney for legal or tax consequences. She has accurate title. I'm not sure who she has, but she has her own title search company, and they are finalizing the search as we speak. So I would assume that the closing on this could happen pretty quickly, as long as the board's okay with it.
I have a couple of things, suggestions that I believe. If there could be by a certain date, and I don't have a problem with making sure you give them a reasonable amount of time, but by having a fixed date in there, and also that if they fail to, that first option of purchase is no greater than the $30,000 that they pay.
Yeah, that's one of the problems we ran into with one of the other properties.
I don't want to see issues
Right, it
that's been in the
doesn't
past.
doesn't spell out what that would be. I can put in the 30,000. Now, as far as the date certain, this
Because they're a reasonable amount of time, they could be 5 years, but I don't think that's reasonable. I think if put in there, and give them 18 months.
we have number 6. It's just closure shall occur within 60 days from the day the last party signs this agreement or the contract is null and void.
No, I'm saying the completion.
As far as
project, right, of the project.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know.
Because that was the agreement to sell it for that price for the project.
True. I wanted to leave that up to the board though, because I think when we did put a certain date in there, there were unforeseen things that happened. So putting a date certain in there.
Well, it's pretty easy to build something within 18 months. I would think that project, start to finish, is probably a 4 to 5 month project.
That's why I put reasonable time, because I think that leaves the board leeway to say,
I'd allow 6 months for your state releases and your planning.
At least.
On top of the construction.
So do you think, 18 months is,
Well, if he started today, he wouldn't build anything for 6 months before he got his paperwork
Right.
done.
so that would give him 12 months to build it?
I'm gonna say a good 2-year, whatever, 18 months, I think he's gonna waste, and he may waste even more than 6 months. He's not accustomed to commercial building. It can take quite a bit of time.
24 months is definitely
Yes.
plenty. If they can't build in 24 months.
Yes.
If they can build the event center 18 months, I'd say 24 months would be ample time.
Okay, so on number 5, you want me to put in failure to do so within a 24-month period can result in legal action. And then as far as the first option, do you want me to?
Well, I think
state
it
the
should
first option should be for the price that we sold it to them for?
have no greater than, at least,
Okay, all right. Now, if I'm able to get these changes done, would you be okay with me going ahead and presenting that to the Hubbards and proceeding with the closing?
I am with those 2 changes.
Okay. But what I'll do then is,
You want to make a motion?
oh yes, I
For
guess
that,
you'll have to do
Aaron?
that, right? Fair to do so within 24 months?
We make a motion and state those 2 changes?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the Hubbard purchase contract for the 4th and Shipping property. The 2 amendments, including the 24-month completion date and the first option to purchase of no more than their purchase price of $30,000.
Purchase property for no more than, okay, $30,000. If said veteran clinic is not built according to said bid and proposal, correct? Okay.
I'll second.
And also in that motion, you want to put in there that you give Leslie the authority to move forward with the closing?
Yeah, move.
Have a second?
Second.
First and second, all in favor?
Yeah.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, let's see here.
Hummel parking lot updates.
Yeah, that is also the other real estate purchase contract, which is contained in your packets. And it is just commonly known as the parking lot on Short Street. Now, Dan and Lisa Hummel did have a loan with the revolving loan fund, so this one's a little different. We are stating the sale price of the property, which is the average of the 2 appraisals at 104.5, but less the loan, and they've agreed to pay off the loan that they have with the revolving loan fund. And that amount is $72,209.57. And then I put the total amount that would be due to seller less the loan amount. Did talk to him about the taxes, that we wouldn't be paying those until 2014. I don't think there's anything else that's.
That difference is $32,290.43.
If I did my math right. Twice, but I'll double check it right now too. 1, 4, 5.
Yeah, that's correct.
Is that right? Okay, good. So, just need to go ahead for Mr. Lawrence to sign this one, since we're actually.
Yeah, it's in your paper, it's on your paper.
Anything for a project, that's what it said, which I think,
Yeah, it's right there.
I'm gonna find up on the list.
Since we're buying the property, the same thing with the 60 days as far as closing. We would, what I normally do when we are the buyer is go ahead, and once it is signed, And I forward that to our title company, and they'll do a full search to make sure everything's up and get our insurance and all that good stuff.
Anything from the board?
I'd say she moved forward with it.
Have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
There then. Okay.
Anything else, Leslie?
Yeah, then she just put updates, because there's just some, I guess, basically like loose ends. Let's see, as far as the, let's see, 4th and Main and 202 4th Street, which are the UCB proposed land swap. We do have one set of the appraisals done back from Mr. Thomas. The 4th and Main lot, it appraised at $31,000. The 202 4th Street, where the residence is located, appraised at $47,000. We are waiting with Pillar, from Pillar Group to do theirs. The completion of their report is expected to be August 16th, so we should have those pretty quickly. 339 Arch, both of those appraisals have been come back. The average is $50,500. One came in at $56,000. The other one came in at $45,000.
What address is that?
That's 339 Arch.
56.
56 and 45.
And who done those?
Thomas, Mr. Thomas, and Clinton Nearing. He's out of Batesville.
Which one was what?
Thomas was 56, Nearing was 45. We also do have the one next door to that, the vacant lot, that was also done. Mr. Thomas came back at $26,000, Mr. Nearing came back at $25,000. So the average of those two would be $25,500.
What was that address?
That is just the vacant lot next to 339. It's owned by Herb Clausing. I have also received the appraisals back on one of them on Mr. Thomas came back on an industrial drive property. The amount for his appraisal was $56,000. There were some questions Pillar had that I think Mr. Todd and Mr. Clark were able to answer and got back to them. I would assume that they have already looked at it and everything. They were just kind of wondering whether or not it had been filled, and some other questions. So I still have not seen that report yet.
Is this site 2 over there?
Was that the entire
Hill Creek.
thing on industrial, or wasn't that split up in two?
No, I think they combined both those parcels.
So where what I call the old dump?
Old dump
And
the.
so that was one.
Triangle.
Right, lot number, was it 10 and 11? I don't remember.
Do you know what the total acreage was of that?
I didn't bring the appraisal.
I couldn't remember.
Well, we supplied the report, the geo report and
Good.
the environmental report.
Yeah, they wanted the that's right, they wanted the geo report, environmental report, so. On Cook Lane, that's the 321 Cook Lane. I don't know if we talked about this last time. Our title closer did recommend that Mr. Caudell do a quiet title action due to the fact that he had bought the property at a sheriff's sale. And therefore our underwriters, as far as our insurance, would not underwrite it. So he is in the process of getting that done. Don't know much more on that one. We already talked about Hummel, and we talked about Hubbard. I do know, and I looked through my notes, I don't know where these properties are, but brought it to my attention that 240 and 246 Water Street was supposed to go out to appraisals. I did not have that down for the last meeting, but I will send those out to appraisals if that's, you know.
I think that was the two that had been foreclosed on.
Yeah.
Okay. Didn't have it anywhere in my notes at all, so I will make sure that I get that information. And that is residential though, right? That would be good.
I think Miami Savings and Loan was foreclosing on them or something.
Okay.
Well, I think they done have possession, I believe.
Lastly, the last thing I have, it had been brought to our attention by CNC Lawn Care about a parcel that was on a Beacon property search that was in Hardentown. Preliminarily, I've done the research. The auditors, as far as the auditor's office goes, Lawrenceburg owns that property, which doesn't make any sense because it's Hardentown. Now, they had, let's see, it was Bruce Miller owns everything around it, and it's actually S&B Miller Limited Liability Company. We used to be Bruce Miller Real Estate Corp. And then that was reorganized to S&B Miller Limited Liability Company. When they leased that property up there, everything around it, what we were able to find out was that it was actually either it should be a vacated Elm Street or it is vacated. We're not sure if it's vacated or not. Either way, if it was a vacated street, it should not have come back till City of Lawrenceburg. A vacated street would be the street of the town, which would be Hardentown, which now is in the township and county. So I'm real confused as to why our name is on there. I did work a little bit with who we do our title work with while I was in the recorder's office. So my recommendation to the board would be to get a title search done. That way they can determine, you know, if indeed we are the ones that own it. I mean, it does say that as far as on all the tax records, but it's really confusing as to why we do.
Do you have a plot of where that piece is?
It's up, it was given to us last time, which that just gives that. There's the overlay, there's 275, and it's right up, like there's the Shell station. There's a road, Walnut Street in Hardentown.
If the board does own it before they do anything, is that a piece of property that they should check with the LCD if there'd be anything that they would need, which I know we have the
Right.
president of LCD back here.
I did speak with Mr. Seitz, but, and as to my confusion why the city of Lawrenceburg owned it, now, one of the possibilities that we came up with when the vacation of the railroad happened, that might be, but first and foremost, I think we need to get a title search done to see, you know, if indeed we are the right owners, and if we're not, you know, at that point, the board can make a decision as, because I do believe Mr. Cromer has called again, wanting to know, is that correct? As far as, if that piece is even available, so, do you have anything to add there, Mr. Seitz?
My only comment is that Mr. Hughes is probably the expert on the property in that area, given his expertise with the Greendale levy, and he's...
The only thing that calling it a project was that on the backside of the rail was the old canal. And when, prior to the start of the Greendale levy, the city deeded over that section going all the way up through there. But once it got to Hardentown, it pretty well died out.
And I will comment for the board's pleasure. That area is probably the most confused survey area in Dearborn County.
That's what I found out, and so that's why I thought, I'm not gonna continue my search, we need to get someone that does title searches to finish it out.
Yes, the
because-
LCD has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to resolve issues, and we'd rather not spend any more, so you do with it what you want.
Now, Leslie, on the title search, will that show if there's an easement to access
Yeah, it'll come up with anything.
Without an easement to access, I don't know.
I mean, there is a street, the vacated, this is the vacated Elm Street, so you would go across like this. Yeah, I see what you're saying. With that overlay, it looks like there's nothing to it, right? But I do know it is now being leased to Barry Nance's company, Weld
Lease.
Lease, there we go. But when that transfer, or it's a land contract, I believe, is what's going on. But when that land contract came through, the auditor's office, the only thing they had on this piece of property was S&B Miller does not own, cannot transfer. City of Lawrenceburg. So, like I said, I'm at a loss as to why it had happened, but if we do indeed own it, then the board could look at maybe, doing something with it. But I want to go ahead and, if that's the board's pleasure, I want to go ahead and have it.
Would the board like to have a title search done? Okay, we have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
First and a second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried to have a title search done.
All I have.
Okay. I'm gonna pass down for everybody to review, claims for approval for the event center. Well, let me let Donnie look first since he's only one to the left.
Okay, Chairman, while you're doing that, I'll go through a few updates that I have.
Okay.
We closed on the Dunning property today at 3 o'clock. It was secured this afternoon. And we need permission to go out for bids for demo and geotech, if it's the pleasure of the board.
Were they able to get what they needed off of there, or do you know?
Yes, they
Okay,
got,
good.
everything's
The
good.
Dunnings had contacted me to try to get some of the wood off of the deck, which was fairly new. They wanted to salvage some of the wood, so we said, have at it while you still own it. So.
Tell them to take the rest of it.
What's the purpose of a geotech?
Just check soil, make sure we don't have anything in the area. And we'll need it for future development.
Well, if he was worried about that, I think, should I ask for that before it was
No,
purchased?
it's more, there was nothing in the history for that site, but, so we get the geotech done at the same time.
So you don't think that should wait until decide to do something with the property?
Well, you can, it's the board's pleasure.
Disturb anything? I mean, for now.
Well, we're going to be digging the basement out, so we gotta backfill with something, so it'd be nice to know what we have underneath that.
Which that's the decision of this board. That's my thought. Mario?
Well, traditionally what we do, in order to get the permit for item, we do need to do a asbestos survey. So we have the firm come in and do that. So the minimum we need to do is at least that survey.
Anything else from the board? Question? What's the board's pleasure?
I mean, personally, if we're gonna, what's the plan? I mean, we're gonna put it back on the market? Do we have any idea?
Put it back on the market and try it for development.
Even though we own the rest of that lot, correct?
Yes.
Board could keep in mind too, I mean, there might be opportunities to have events in that lot.
No action?
Does anybody want to make a motion or?
Yeah. We gotta do something with it.
Go ahead, Terry.
I mean, proceed with getting demolition
It's definitely not
quotes?
livable, right?
Yeah. So it's okay to proceed with getting demolition or quotes?
Motion to proceed.
With demolition and asbestos testing?
Thing that's involved in it.
You gonna do
The
it?
demolition, we'll go take quotes and bids for the demolition. First we'll have the survey done.
We have a motion on the floor.
Second.
First and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, in your packet is a letter from the Goebels regarding a house on 332 Short Street. They were wanting to transfer the title over. The issue that came to light was that it's a burnout unit, and demolition had not occurred, and it was felt through legal and the staff that we didn't want to accept that liability. So, for the record, there's the letter. And that was the issue that went on there.
If it's okay, if I could ask, I mean, I understand it's a burnout issue, or resident, but I mean, it's not much different from the Dunning property, which was purchased for, what was the amount? 90,000 or something? And have to demolish it, check it for asbestos, you want a soil sample it even, but somebody's willing to give us a piece of property, but we're gonna have to demolish it and haul it off, and
The problem with it is, Mike, is that it's about to fall down.
And then between a couple
And it's
buildings.
about to fall down on an adjoint, not it's adjoining, but you know how close those houses
It's like a
are.
foot or two apart.
Yeah, they're only a foot or two apart. And our take on it was, he got insurance proceeds.
In the past few months, recently too.
Right, and didn't do anything, you know. And so basically, he was wanting just for us to take it off his hands because it's on our unsafe building list, definitely. And Mr. Fryman can, or Mr. Todd could.
Well, and I think that since he's received the proceeds, the claim, he's actually went into the property and taken some structural members out. The house is very unsound at this point.
You just see pictures of it. It was.
Yeah, that was my only issue with it, is that it burnt down. He collected insurance money. Now he wants to give it away because it's going to cost between $15,000, $20,000 to tear the house down when he just received
and
that
I mean,
insurance
I
money.
understand that, but I'm thinking, I mean, I'm looking, we just talked a few minutes ago about redevelopment or revitalizing downtown, now we got a house burnt down. I mean, sure, but are you gonna take the actions and the time, or, I mean, I'm just looking at what is spent on others, if it's willing, I mean, it's just a question, I mean.
I think, I met with him again this morning, just to sign a contract between 10 and 11 o'clock to remove the building. I've done that for him, so it's on his own.
Okay.
I think for development reasons, Mr. Goble will come back and present you an empty lot, that parking value. So, in the long run, what we got going, and me and Leslie are working on the property next door to it. And the same thing, so it'd be a pretty good sized area right there. But he signed it. He was supposed to meet with him at 10 or 11 o'clock today. I met him at 8. And he was meeting the contractor, sign over the agreement to remove it. Should be gone. He said he hopes he starts on by Thursday morning.
I talked to the neighbors that Leslie was talking about. They're only a foot or two apart, the houses, and they said that if he tore it down, they would be interested in buying it from him for a bigger yard as well.
There's issues with that property as well, then. Are you talking about?
No, to the
The
property.
other side?
Yeah.
That's the other way.
Yeah, not, no, the one on the left side, if you're looking
Okay.
at it.
Yeah, the other one.
Okay, good. But yeah,
And Mike may not be where the property to the south has structural issues also.
On the other side.
and basically, we're looking to do the unsafe building to get those people out because every day they could just collapse on them, pretty much. And that was our whole thinking with this one. If he didn't do the demolition work he needed to get done, if it fell over to the right, then that whole house could come down as well. So.
Anything else, Gary?
Yes, our housing project at Center and Arch, it's due to be reviewed by Planning and Zoning in September. That's on that lot side, that subdivision. And on our infills, I'm trying to finish up the specs, should have them to you by the next meeting, along with a request for proposals. On Short Street, it's kind of weird, we got no bids in at all.
353.
I thought the same thing.
After all of that.
Yeah.
All that, we did get one bid.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
I mean,
That was in the bold print too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
At least one
because,
time it was.
well,
yeah.
because the register I made the mistake before, but then the register made the mistake, so they printed it again for us 2 more times for free, basically, so.
So that piece of land's been all the way through the cycle, so
Yeah.
it's, I guess we're just gonna sit there and maintain it for a while.
Can I ask a question on the Arch Street?
Yes.
Going back to one of our meetings, a couple meetings ago, talked about, because you said for RFPs, because you had talked about putting it out there for a builder where basically it would be a guaranteed buyout at a certain time, and, you know, basically there was no risk involved.
Well, that's not in the proposal.
That won't be in?
No, that's not in the proposal. I think we're going to address some items around the perimeter, but that's what I gotta bring back to you all to look at.
I just wanted
And
to-
really, that's gonna come from, when we, get these proposers reply in, and then we'll see what some of the issues are, and we can talk about it as a board. All right, my last item, 1 High Street. When we talked about that a while back, I know it was in my mind, it was in some of the staff's mind too, that 1 High Street had a value on it, probably high 100s. And I had a conversation with the owner of the property, and they feel that it might, based on the sales around there and what's going on, it might praise for 300,000 or better. I'm just bringing it back to the board to see if you all would even be interested at that level, that amount of dollars, or whether to go ahead. I held off on getting the appraisals because of this issue popping up.
But you know, I don't get the vote, and I wasn't supportive of it last time.
So.
You're talking about 1 West High.
1 West High, does say, yeah, 1 West High. So I'd like to know board's pleasure whether to proceed with that appraisal or not.
Well, I don't think he's gonna budge off of his thoughts anyway if it comes in less. Let him sit on it a while.
Okay.
Want to put that in motion, or
That's a move.
have a motion on the floor? Do we have a second?
Second.
First and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Anything else?
Who?
Keep pointing at.
Anything else from the board?
Hold on.
Yeah, one thing under old business. A month or two ago, I tried to get the Main Street Economic Development Relief Fund replenished, where they had spent the money to help assist with the trailer court relocations, and I passed out a transaction detail of the account to the members. I would just like to get that account reimbursed, the money they spent to the residents of the trailer court during that time.
And isn't this what Doug Taylor had asked for?
And I thought we did it.
No, some people want to see the actual the account transaction
Okay.
report,
Yeah.
so I passed that out tonight.
I believe Tom had asked.
Yeah,
Right.
he's got it. So,
Well, you got it now, Tom.
I know.
What would the board like to do?
Make a motion to replenish the line item.
And that would be for a total of $35,664.32?
no, there's one more person that came in later. Is that right?
36,664.32.
Yeah, it's on the front there.
No, it's 35.
Yeah,
Okay.
$35,664.32.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Your Honor.
Well, hold on real quick. Anything else from anybody on the board? Okay.
In your pay app for approval tonight, if there's any questions on the John's firewall issue, Rodney England's here to answer any questions on that, if anybody had a question.
Did anybody have any questions? I'm reading this item. Got the review. Isn't, just question, isn't $9,000 what was approved up to? Or
Was it 10?
was it 10 or 9?
9.
And this just so happened to come out at $9,000.
Each unit was given $9,000 to either sprinkle and/or firewalls, their choice. Sprinklers, if some of them would have went with it, would have been more in the neighborhood of 17,000. They had only been reimbursed.
Okay. Now we're looking for motion for approval for these claims.
So move.
Second.
First and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And just for record, total was $46,445.78 on the claims. Anything else? Anybody? Comments from the audience? No? Motion to adjourn? Oh, I'm sorry. I keep missing people. What's wrong with me?
The Short Street property.
You have something to say back here, Mr. Sykes?
Something for you guys to think about. I know since I've been coming to the meetings, we're pretty much against rental property in town. But I don't think that that's something you're ever going to eliminate all of it. It's a pretty big risk putting a nice new house in between a couple pieces of rental property, but if you was to think about it and re-advertise that thing and maybe get some of your better landlords around town that might be interested in putting something on that lot in that area, it sounds like you might get a shot of getting rid of two bad pieces of rental property right across the street and putting some single-family homes. I think that might work over there, but just an idea and a thought. It's liable to sit there vacant a long time. And there are some pretty good landlords around town that do take care of their property. So you might get some interest in that direction.
Now, is that the vacant lot?
That's 353 Short.
That's not the one about their president.
Yeah, that's the big, the one that had bids due today. Nobody bid. But if we put something else in the RFP, is what he's saying, you know, that
What,
includes.
that included the RFP before, because time passes, I forget. That was for owner occupied, is that right?
No, not, I think the original notice and offer, but this request for proposal was just, proposals for the purchase of the vacant lot.
Okay.
They had to have all their stuff together, of course, but other than that.
Okay. Anything else from that?
With regard to the Hummel property that you're purchasing, am I right to assume that, being that it'll be a city parking lot, that the entire area will be cleaned up, the chains will be put back in or properly, and the signage that's there will be taken down?
I'm going to say after we get possession, it will come before this board to vote on what they want to do with that property, but I know it has been discussed about the parking lot.
Okay.
But nothing's been, oh, would you please state your name?
Oh, Tom Schneider.
Thanks, sir. Anything else? Mr. Sykes?
With regard to the Tate Street trailer park?
Yes, sir.
Could
you come to the podium, please?
EB Sites, and when I was a youngster, my mother owned that trailer park and the building next door. It was a Pepsi Cola building at the time. My brother got paid to collect rent, but he dropped me off and I walked around that trailer court and collected the rent. I don't know where my brother went to, but I just hope it turns into a very nice venue for the city of Lawrenceburg. That's all I got to say.
Is that what happened to you, Mr. Sykes? Your brother dropped you off?
Yes, my brother dropped me off. He did that on more than one occasion.
And I will say, when the Sites had that property, it was probably a Florida-style community down there. It was
Yes.
very nice.
Yes. Thank you.
You still available for that?
Jane?
it was discussed at the last meeting that the subdivision that's going on, I'm Jane Pope, that the subdivision that's going on Arch Street and Center Street, you were looking for a name. And I've talked to some people, and they said they think that this would be a good fit, called Arch Street and Center Street Park Place. Because all the homes are not going to have park view, all the homes are not going to have park side, but they all will be Park Place. So it's just a suggestion.
Thank you.
We're still tossing that around, right?
And
I
a lot of
wasn't at the
people
last meeting,
played the
so-
board Monopoly game, so Park Place would work too.
Anybody else? Motion to adjourn? First and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Trailer park.
Thanks for letting me come.
You know, you're a notary. Do you mind? I got myself upstairs. All right. Yeah, you just want to.
Oh man, that'll cost you.
Fun.
I couldn't even make you late. I wish you'd told me that so I could have made you late.
Oh, was he, has he signed it? Yeah, he just signed it. He did sign it, okay.
Huh?
I'll go do it right now. I can do it tomorrow for you, that's fine. Okay. Thank you. I mean, I have it, but it's just better when I figure it out.